All right, now time for House of the Dragon. Woo!
Let's do
House
it.
House of the Dragon Season 2 gets filming update from Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin, who still from creator George R.R. Martin. Will he ever finish his books? All right. So, Game of Thrones actor or author.
My eyes are getting all dry. Sorry, contacts.
You're good. George R. R. Martin
I have a
officially
fan.
announces a
Like-
major film update for HBO's House of Dragon season 2 amid the strikes. Oh my! But yeah, I agree with the chat that Martin is like, oh, another reason not to finish my books.
Sorry, let
Yay!"
me go tell my blog that I'm still working on my book.
let me take a second. I'm like, oh wait, the book is still coming out soon. Uh-huh.
I promise.
Mm-hmm. You know, just 15 years later or however much long it's been. I still refuse. I'm not gonna read Game of Thrones until he finishes the books, which will probably mean never.
Mando's on strike.
Yup. I'm on a strike for unfinished works. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, I gotcha. All right. Game of Thrones creator. Wait, did you already read that part?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't. Okay, sorry. My bad.
No, you're good.
Game of Thrones creator George R.R. Martin has an important update about House of Dragons. Thanks for that. That's just, I feel like people get so mad about that because he got an update, not about the book. House of Dragon follows the struggle between the Greens, who stand behind Aegon Targaryen, and the Blacks. Really, that's their name. Okay, who support Rhaenyra? What's her name? Targaryen. I don't know the name. I don't know I haven't seen the show yet. I want to watch it. I've heard that it's good. I'll get to it eventually. Tensions escalated following Lucerys' death, and two sides will seemingly wage a brutal total war in season 2. Despite the ongoing WGA and SAG after strike, House of the Dragon production has continued, really unimpeded, with a summer 2024 preview target. I wonder where they're recording. Like, maybe, because just quick side note here. Rhaenyra, is that it?
Rhaenyra?
So the new Alien show, which I know they were making an Alien movie, but there's a show, they're recording it in Thailand, and most of the actors are probably going to be from Thailand, so they're still recording. So the strike, they're going to work their ways around it, but big projects like Deadpool 3, it's not going to work because what's up, Ark? It's not going to work because like people like Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, they're a part of the union. So no matter where they are, I think they can't work, but they can work their way around certain productions by depending on where they're filming. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm surprised to hear this because you'd think that because they had some bigger names, at least B levels, whatever people on here. What did you say, Mando?
No, I'm probably not going to say it right. Rhaenyra.
Okay. What's up, Trey? So in a recent post on his Rhoda, I'm busy. In a recent post on his not a blog, that's what he freaking calls it. Oh,
that's what he calls it. Yes, that's what he calls his blog.
not a book either, George. Martin announced that production for House of Dragon season 2 is halfway through and progressing well. The Game of Thrones creator also explains why the spinoff is able to film despite the strike shutting down most Hollywood productions. He says the writing was already completed before the writer's strike began in May, while the actors are members of Equity. Oh, okay. What is that? Equity, as opposed to SAG-AFTRA. What's Equity? We're gonna look that. I'll look it up in a minute. Meaning that they do not need to abide by strike terms. As Martin emphasized, Equity has offered full support for the American strikers, but it cannot legally offer sympathy strikes due to UK law. Check out his quote below. Okay. That's a big quote. One of the few, I was expecting some little sentence. One of the few shows till shooting is House of Dragon. As you may have read, that's true. I am told the second season is half done. All of the scripts have been finished months before the WGA strike began. No writing has been done since, to the best of my knowledge. HOTD is shot mostly in London and a little bit in Wales, Spain, and various other locations. Okay, so they don't shoot that in America, which is why filming has continued. The actors are members of the British Union. Are they all British? Equity, not SAG-AFTRA. And though Equity strongly supports their American cousins, they have a big rally planned to show the support. British law forbids them from staging a sympathy strike. If they walk, then they have no protection against being fired for breach of contract or even sued. Honestly, I was shocked to hear that. One of the two major UK political parties, Labour, has its roots in the trade union movement. How in the world could they have allowed such anti-labor regulations to be enacted? Seems to me that Labour Party really needs to do a better job of protecting the right to strike. As for me personally, my overall deal with HBO was suspended on June 1st. Huh. Bye, Don. I still have plenty to do, of course, and that I am one of the lucky ones. These strikes are not really about name writers or producers or showrunners, most of whom are fine. We're striking for the entry level writers and story editors, the students hoping to break in, the actor who has 4 lines, the guy working his first staff job who dreams of creating his own show one day, as I did back in the 80s. I like that. I like that he said that because I am sick of these net worth 50 million freaking actors like what's his face putting on his poor clothes. The Hulk. What the hell is I'm drawing a blank right now.
Mark
Ruffalo. Yeah, Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo going and striking in his poor clothes that probably cost more than my expensive clothes. And they're sitting there like, and the guy from Adam Ruins Everything literally tweeting and putting a donation link because they want little people like us to donate to the strike. Like, no, how about all of you guys that have millions of dollars donate to the strike? Fran Drescher, the president of SAG, her net worth 30 million, and she's like, they took our jabs.
They took our jabs.
And she's all like, and it's like, Fran, stop it. If you care, how about you guys take pay cuts? What's up, Jared? You know, like somebody said that on Toxic Femme. We were talking about this. The Rock makes 50 million a movie. He can't cut that down and like even like, oh God forbid he even made like 30 million. Gosh, that's such a low amount. And the rest goes to the lower crew. Because God knows that a lot of these productions aren't getting that much. Like the money isn't going into the production for a lot of these movies.
Right.
Look at Keanu Reeves. Like he donated all of his earnings from the first Matrix movies to charity. And he donates. I don't know if this is, I could be wrong on this. I don't think it's every movie, but I know he has donated a lot of his salary to like special effects people and all that. It's like, be more like Keanu. That's it. I'm done. But really, like they care so much. They're picketing. If you care, then how about you? You know, it's because the CEO's making more money than me. Boo hoo. The CEOs are probably making too much money, of course. But the CEOs are the bosses, so they should be making more than their employees. That's just how it works. Are they overpaid? Absolutely. But there's people so much lower than these stars, and these stars are crying. And it's like Mark Ruffalo. That image will always be in my head. His poor clothes. Like that's probably freaking Armani. That shirt and stuff. Like, dude, don't. And it didn't look good, anyways. Like, it didn't even match. You look dumb. You looked dumb, okay? Yeah, exactly. And I know, so Tom Cruise is kind of on both sides with it, and I know it's self-interest, but at the same time, I agree with what he's doing. I talked about this on Wicked's Role yesterday with Mike. He wants like certain things cut out, like the AI and stuff, because I understand why actors don't want their likeness used to AI, because they could just be replaced with it if they sign some contract and then they're out and they're in, but they're not actually there getting paid, right? So I get that. But he was advocating for actors to still be able to promote their movies for the sake of the theaters, because these theaters are going to go down if movies aren't coming out, like, because they still got to pay like the not mortgage, but you know what I mean. They still got to pay to run the theater. And if people aren't coming to see the movies, they're not getting in revenue. And that's bad for, and some theaters are smaller theaters. It's not always Regal and AMC. A lot of towns have these little theaters that have these movies. So I stood by that with Tom Cruise. Like people were like, oh, he's playing both sides. Like, yeah, it's self-interest, but he's not wrong.
Right.
It's self-interest that also is good for other people.
Yeah, and like self-interest does not always have to be like bad for another person. Like people, like multiple people can benefit. It's not like if something's just good for me, like it can't benefit somebody else. And so like
Yeah, exactly. Like, of course, he's not like, being like, it's more so for himself, but, whatever. So, what is this? Where is that? The long wait makes sense since the sorry. Filming for House of Dragons season 2 began on April 11th. If Martin's estimate proves correct, there will be approximately 102 more days of filming, so production could wrap up roughly in November. Considering the amount of special effects work that will need to go into House of Dragons season 2, it is likely that the season will be released in the summer or fall of 2024. Currently, HBO is aiming for House of Dragons season 2 to premiere in the summer of 2024, so it's progressing right on schedule. The long wait makes some sense since the VFX load will be tremendous for the upcoming season. After the cliffhanger ending of House of Dragon season 1, dear diary, what is it? Left Rhaenyra? Wasn't that how it's
I
pronounced?
think that's what we said.
I'm sorry. I have to hear it like on the show, and then I'll remember it. I'll watch it soon. Before season 2. All right, guys. Ready to wage war, the show is set to amplify the tensions to outright battle. Lucerys Valeron is dead. Damien is searching for more dragons, and Westeros is about to be dragged into a bloody civil war. Dragons will be fighting dragons, leaving an enormous amount of development still to be done. HBO has greenlit House of Dragons season 2 after the record-breaking response to the premiere proved that Game of Thrones is still a viable franchise after its disappointing ending. Yeah. As a result,
because the author didn't finish the books that the series was based off.
Rhaenyra, that's it. See, D-Day knows how to do the pronunciations for me. Thank you. Rhaenyra. So HBO only greenlit Mando's slow thumbs up. She's so sassy. HBO only greenlit House of Dragons season 2 after the record-breaking response to the premiere proved Game of Thrones is still a viable franchise after its disappointing ending. As a result, filming was pushed back by months as House of Dragons still needed to complete pre-production even as season 1 was airing. Now that the show has proven that it can hold its own, season 3 may be produced more quickly. With half of the House of Dragons season 2 already filmed, more updates are sure to come as production churns on. All right, I got it, guys. I think I got it. Once I see it, like once I watch the show, I'll know. Like I know how to pronounce Daenerys and all those. If I would have seen that name without knowing the show, I would have been like, huh? Daenerys, what?
There are lots of hard names to pronounce in different series and things and stuff and such. It's yeah. I don't think I'm gonna watch any of the Game of Thrones because I feel the same way like that I do about the books. Like if you like, how are you supposed to finish something that's not finished?
I know.
And granted, this is a prequel story, so like we kind of know the ending already, which has never deterred me anyway from watching something. Like even if I know the ending, it usually doesn't deter me. But also, it's just like, oh. Why can't you just finish it instead of posting on your not blog?
Your not blog, dear diary. Great.
I don't see this book ending anytime soon.
So, Roto, I understand where you're coming from with that, but I also think that it will end soon because they need these actors. Big movies, solely, even if it's just for a single few actors like Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, because Deadpool 3 is so highly anticipated. And the more they have to put these productions on pause, the more money they're going to lose. So it's like they're going to have to band together and figure out, okay, how are we going to meet these? Like, how are we going to make a negotiation here? Because we're just going to keep bleeding out money and we're not making any money because these movies aren't coming out. I mean, that's just me thinking, logically, but that's just one example. And then Dune also, that's Mike said that was his biggest upset, that if Dune 2, I didn't see the first Dune yet, so I don't know. But the movie that I'm most upset about that was confirmed, I don't think Dune was confirmed to be halted yet. I'm not sure though. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But Deadpool 3 is confirmed to have halted production. It's like, we got the teaser from those pictures and I was so ready for it because Ryan always delivers with Deadpool and we need a good superhero movie and we can rely on him. I know we can rely on it being good. So I do understand where you're coming from, Roto, but I think that their pockets are going to be hurting and they're going to have to make a deal. Not because of the little people but because of the bigger names that they need to get back into production. That's just my. What do you think, Mando? That's just what I am looking at it as. Like it could be a few months, but I don't think it's going to be like a year or anything because they will be broke.
Right. I think Jared's got a point that they've got a pretty big back catalog. They could release some old stuff.
That's a good point.
I think the main people, unfortunately, who's going to be hurt by the strikes are the people that need the strikes the most, because these big companies, the big actors, the big writers, they can sit this out for a while. They can bleed money for a little bit, but the person who's working on like a production, like in the background or an extra, like how are they going to pay for their rent? How are they going to pay for food? So it's one of those things. Like I think it's very valid. I think that this strike is valid and it needs to happen. I just think that unfortunately it's also hurting the people who need it the most.
Yeah, that's where I've always stood by. The strike is needed for the littler people. Like, well, that's why I liked what whether George meant it or not, his quote there was correct. That is for the smaller writers, the smaller actors that have 2 lines. It's not for The Rock and Mark Ruffalo and those guys. It's not for them.
Yeah.
And Ian's right. Extras are seldom professionals. They're usually like waiters, waitresses, and stuff too. And it's just like them trying to get their foot in the door.
They have aspirations to get bigger. Like I've been an extra on a movie set. Like it's fine. Like you just sit there.
I was not aware I was in the presence of a celebrity.
No, like I'm not. I mean, granted, you see my shoulder in the scene of the movie, but. It's a movie nobody probably ever saw unless you're a Christian. It was like a little Christian movie, but it had a couple. Like if you've heard of this Christian singer Jamie Grace, she was in the movie, and she's actually a really a sweetheart. Yeah, it's hard to have sympathy for people who call us Istanphobes for the last few years.
Exactly. Like this, maybe not the smaller people, but the bigger ones is like, oh no, you're sitting in your $1 million mansion and you're only bringing in like $1 million a month. I feel so bad for you.
Yeah, while the other person who maybe was like a backup writer, and I'm just throwing a random thing out there, is like a waitress or a waiter and is trying to are struggling and they aren't going to get this paycheck that they might have needed for something else. So
yeah. Really, Tara? Tom Cruise didn't bring people in? I thought that Mission Impossible 4 did well. I know Indiana Jones didn't do well, but that's not... Harrison couldn't save that. It was ruined and people knew it. Like that was... And Michael Keaton, if they would have done like a Batman Beyond, it would have done well. No matter who was writing it, it would have done very well. But people could not look like me. I can separate the actor from their craziness, but I could not separate the Ezra Miller stuff. I'll eventually watch it. So I had a couple people send me the Jack Sparrow version of it, and I still haven't watched it because his face annoys me. There's 2 of them in the movie. God.
What's up, Charlie?
What's up? Really, Trey? Well, that's unfortunate. Well, and there we go. Like Tara's even saying now, if the big names aren't bringing people in, yikes. People showed up in droves for Barbie and Oppenheimer, though. So.
Well, I think people are finally just fed up with crap.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna go see like little no-name movies because it's got actual plot and actual writing and it's actually good, versus another Indiana Jones movie that with a decrepit old Harrison Ford who can barely know where he is half the time. I'm gonna tell you guys.